Hey everyone, good afternoon. I just want to make a little quick video, try to make it under 10 minutes. Anyone struggling with 3dsMax, how to make a taxiway line, taxiway poly, all that good stuff. Alright, so this is as simple as just tracing your edges. I just want to make sure you go to your the shapes tab, go to line. This is how you make a taxiway texture. You can just go and trace. Once you get to here, fill the gap, click and hold, and click again to drop it. Trace it here. And so on and so forth. I think you kind of get the gist of it. Just clicking, clicking, same thing here. Cover the gap, press and hold it, drop it. Now let's say that you don't like a certain part of this. You can always hit the delete button and that will delete your last point. It'll just keep going in reverse. So once again, if you don't like it, you can just hit delete. But again, drop it here, here, and once you go here, you want to close the spline. Now, if you look here, you have a line, but not a polygon. So you're going to want to right click and convert it to editable mesh. So now your polygon will show up, and then now you can add a texture to it, and so on and so forth. So to add a texture, you want to go to your 3dsMax slate panel. I use a slate material editor; it's a lot better. And to use this, you would just select your bitmap, drop it, go to your texture that you would like to add onto it, say this one. You're going to want to click drag material and add a prepared 3D material. Drop it as a diffuse because that's the diffuse is the texture that's showing up. Alright, so now you're going to want to right click, show shaded material in viewport, and you're going to want to take your this right here and you're going to want to drop it. So now it's gray, but it's still not showing up. You need to add a UVW map. You need to tell the texture what to do. So you add a UVW map, keep it as planar, and you can actually, let me just raise it a little bit. You can actually, let's say you want it to be 10 by 10. So now the texture will show up 10 times in each direction, length and width. Let's say you don't want the triangles like that. You can always add a UVW map, open the editor, select the texture, zoom out, you'll see your whole polygon. And then this is how you will use the rotate tool to turn the texture a certain way to your liking. Say you like it like that. Collapse all. Now your texture is uniform in one direction. All right. Now we'll get into how to draw a taxiway line. Taxiway line is essentially just the same thing as a line tool, but you're going to make a loft or a shape that's going to follow that line. So let's go ahead and drop this down just a little bit. Going to go to line, and you see your taxiway line here. You're going to want to trace that. Go here. Let's back it up a little bit. Let's here, and it's following the line perfectly. Drop it, and one more. Boom. Now that's your taxiway line. So now we need to create something that needs to follow this line. So to do that, you're going to need to make a rectangle. Draw your rectangle. Match it up to the thickness of the taxiway line that you want to use. Let's say that's a good thickness for you. You can just drag your rectangle around your image and just see. Let's say like that's a good thickness. I generally tend to do 0.45. The length does not matter. So 0.45 is a good thickness to a taxiway line. Just gonna want to go ahead and zero that out. Put this to the side. I generally keep these off of my polygon, so I always tend to put them up here in the corner so I know exactly where they all are. As you can tell, I already have a couple here. I just want to go ahead and right click, go to editable spline, and you're going to want to go to the segment. You're going to want to delete the bottom, left side, right side. So now it just creates the top. So we're going to need to name that something easy. Let's name it to a, call it simple, a line. The reason we put A in the front is because on the scene select from scene list, it'll always show up at the top. If you don't rename it, it'll be all the way at the bottom. Alright, so now that's over there. Now you want to go back to the area that we're working on, and you're going to want to select that line again. And you want to go to this tab. You're going to want to go to your geometry, go to compound objects, go to loft, get shape. And again, why we name it A, put an A in the front, is because every time you're making a line, you need to grab it from this list. And now let's say you have it here, select it, and then now your taxiway line shows up. Now the line is going to be a little bit elevated, so you're going to want to find its sweet spot of where it's at. Let's see. It is about, let's just say you can put it at negative 2.2. Oops, negative 2.2. Alright. The reason we lower it is because this is a perspective view, and the perspective view is what we draw in to see the, because if this is elevated up, it'll mess with your reference. So you just want to lower it a little bit, smack it up against the ground poly. Now we're going to add a texture. So same thing as we did before with the bitmaps. I already have a taxiway line here. You just want to add your bitmaps to your material. Select here, and you're going to want to drop it. Oops, we're going to want to drag, and you're going to want to drop. Let's see. Right there. So you're going to drop it on, you're assigning it to this specific loft. Now you're going to want to go to this tab, go to apply mapping, and then now your line will show up. Now you're going to want to, let's say you want to make the width repeat 5 times, because as you can see, it's at 1 time it's blurry, but at 10 times it's crisp. So you want to add it to your liking of how crisp you want that texture to repeat. I generally keep it at a good pace. Now you might wonder why I have this white line in here, this white line. Uh, that is simply because I can't, I like to, instead of me having to zoom in and see how crisp it is, I like to create this line in between here. So I see you got at the top. I like, it's hard for me to see how I can keep it the same as the other surrounding lines, because right now they both look the same. So it's like, alright, I use this white line to create the same thickness, and then in my texture folder in the flight sim, it's gone, so it just looks crisp and uniform. Alright, so that's how you make that. Now I'm going to show you how to, I guess some people make an edge texture here. Oh, one more thing about this is if your loft is if you would like to, on your skin parameters, you can add how many, if you want to save polygons, you can reduce it to 5. your line will just give you a little bit more crooked or boxy. I tend to keep it at 10. On a bigger scenery, you might want to lower it a little bit. Alright, so now we're going to make an edge texture. So you have your concrete texture here, and you want to apply an edge texture to it. So this is my edge texture right here, and I will open it in Photoshop. Now it's essentially a asphalt side and a grass side, because I eventually want to make a grass texture that surrounds the airport, and I want it to blend nicely. So you have to create your edge texture, make an alpha channel for it, so that anything in black does not show up. White will reveal, so everything is the edge, only the edge is showing up and the grass, and then it blends. So now I want to make this follow the line here. So what you want to do is go to your edge, and you want to select your edges. Let's go to here and here. Okay, now that's your edges. You would eventually do it for everything, but I'm just going to show you a small snippet. You want to create a loft from that, but you see that you can't do that because you need to make the line first. So once you select all your edges, you're going to want to go down to create shape from edges, go to linear, okay, and then now you have a line that was made called a shape, and you can see. So instead of having to retrace this and get it perfect, you don't have to do that. You've already done the job once. You just wanted to tell it what to do. So now you have a line essentially. What you want to do, again, you're going to want to go back to the taxiway line. You want to make a rectangle. And you want to make the rectangle that you want to make it, delete the bottom, left and right. So it'll make like this is my edge texture, and this is my taxiway line. You can see the difference in the width of it. So I've already made one. Let's go back to our line that we make sure we're on the right line, which is a shape. You want to go to compound objects, loft, get shape, and I've already made it a edge. Pick, and now my edge is following that line. So what you want to do is you're going to want to again lower it a little bit so it's not so high up. You're going to want to go to your material editor, click on your edge texture that you have, which mine is already here, and again you're going to want to drop it on your picture, on your loft, apply mapping, add it to whatever it is. That 20 looks good, but you'll notice that it's on the wrong side, so you're going to have to apply a UVW map to it. Open the editor, and we're going to have to flip this image. So select everything, mirror it, and then now you'll notice that it's on the right side. So now when you load up in the sim, all this is going to be gone. It's just going to be a nice blend. Okay. So, alright. So now what you're going to want to do is for all of these textures that you have, you're going to you're going to have to follow the standard parameters in here of double clicking and going. You can either do this in Model Converter X or in 3dsMax itself. Thankfully you can do it here. Just make sure you do your no Z right, no shadow, and then you add your Z bias level. So the larger the negative number, let's say you have 0, 0 being your, or let's say you have -1 as your base poly, which is here. That means the base poly will be on the bottom, and then -2 will be your taxiway here. Then -3 will be your line. Then -4 or 3, you want to create this. So it'll be ground poly. This is how it'll show. Ground poly, texture on top, taxiway line on top of that, and then your edge on top of that. So you're making a sequence. You have to make your sequence how you want it. So yeah, that's pretty much how you do it. Anything else, like any type of dirt texture that you want to add on top of it, you can. It just needs to be sequenced properly. Um, yeah, I hope you guys, just a little quick learning video for you guys. If you have any questions, let me know. Um, I know there's a thing here. You would just have to. That this is the reason why this is showing, because one of your maps is overlapping each other. So you would just need to correct it a little bit. But yeah, anything else, just let me know.